This is Math 6, Lesson 5-4, Adding Mixed Numbers. You can find the sum of mixed numbers by adding the whole number and the fraction parts separately. Then you can combine the two parts to find the total. So let's say we're going to add the following mixed numbers. Now these are written horizontally only to save space. When you're going to work with them, you're going to continue to work with them vertically because that will be much easier and neater to work with. If I'm going to add the following mixed numbers, 5 4/5 plus 3 9/10. Again, I must find a common denominator. So I'm just going to rewrite these numbers so that I can work with them. 5 4/5, and I'm going to add to that 3 9/10. I still only need to worry about my denominators. The whole number part is not used to find the common denominator, just the denominator part of the fractional part of the question. So, if I'm going to find the sum of 5 4/5 plus 3 9/10, the first thing I have to do is get a common denominator. I know my common denominator here is 10. My least common denominator is 10 because 5 divides into 10 evenly. So since my largest number, my smaller number will divide evenly into, that becomes my common denominator. So I don't need to change 3 9/10. I need to multiply 5 times 2 to get 10, so 4 times 2 is 8. So I now have 5 8/10 plus 3 9/10. So I'm going to add these together. Okay, if I take 5 and 3, because I need to add my whole number parts first, okay, always add your whole number parts first, then add your fractional parts. 5 plus 3 is 8. 8 and 9 is 17. So I have 8 17/10. But then I look at that and say, wait a second, I have a whole number part, and then I have an improper fraction. This right here is an improper fraction. I cannot keep it as an improper fraction. Okay? So I need to change this improper fraction to a mixed number. So I know that 17/10 is 1 7/10. So this becomes 8 plus 10 goes into 17 one time with 7 left over, so 1 7/10. 8 plus 1 7/10 becomes 9 7/10, and that is the answer to my question. So 5 8/10 plus 3 9/10 is 9 7/10. Let's look at number 2. Number 2 says 15 5/6 plus 3 1/2. My least common denominator between 2 and 6 is 6 because I know 2 will divide into 6 evenly. So I can keep 15 5/6 just like it is, and I have to change 3 1/2 to become 3 and something over 6. I have to multiply 2 times 3 to get 6, so I have to multiply 1 times 3 to get 3. So now I have 15 5/6 plus 3 3/6. 15 plus 3 is 18. 5 plus 3 is 8, so I have 18 8/6. Whoops, 8/6, not 8/8. So again, I have an improper fraction part. 8/6 is not the proper way to write that answer. So this becomes 18 plus 8/6 is 1 2/6 because 8 minus 6 is 2. So this then becomes 19 2/6, but 2/6 reduces. 2/6 is not in simplest form. So I have to divide this by 2 and divide my denominator by 2, and I get 19 1/3. Always remember to take your fractions down to the absolute lowest terms. Let's look at our third problem here. 7 3/5 plus 13 2/3. 7 3/5, 13 and 2/3. I kind of used a little bit too much space for my first problem, so I'm squeezing over here. Least common denominator here. Well, 5 and 3 are both prime, so I know if I multiply them together, I will get the least common denominator. So 5 times 3 is 15. So my least common denominator here is 15. So I have to change my 13 and my 7 fractions into 15ths. 5 times 3 is 15, 3 times 3 is 9. 3 times 5 is 15, 2 times 5 here is 10. So I now have 7 and 9 15ths plus 13 and 10 15ths. 7 and 13 is 20. 9 and 10 is 19. Again, I have a mixed number. I have an improper fraction that I need to change into a mixed number. So I'm going to take the 20 and 19 15ths, and that becomes 20, plus 19 15ths is a mixed number, is 1 and 4 15ths. So 20 plus 1 and 4 15ths is 21 and 4 15ths. So as you can see, adding mixed numbers just requires you to, again, find a common denominator, add the whole number part separately from the fraction part, and then rename any improper fractions as mixed numbers, and then combine those. Let's look at some word problems. Tyler juggled for 1 1/3 hours during the school week. He juggled for 2 1/4 hours over the weekend. How many hours did he juggle in all that week? So we're talking about what he did during the school week and what he did during the weekend, and we want to know how much he did all together. All together means we are adding, so we will take 1 1/3, and we will add to that 2 1/4. My least common denominator here, between 3 and 4, is 12. 3 divides into 12 evenly, 4 divides into 12 evenly. So I will rewrite my fractions as 12ths. 3 times 4 is 12, 1 times 4 is 4. 4 times 3 is 12, 1 times 3 is 3. So now I have 1 4/12 plus 2 3/12. 2 plus 1 is 3. 4 plus 3 is 7. 3 7/12. This does not need to be renamed because it's in a proper fractional form as a mixed number. So Tyler juggled for 3 7/12 hours. Notice how neat I keep my work. Fractions are very difficult to work with if you are not neat. Neatness in mathematics is a pivotal thing to do. You need to be neat so that you can follow what you're doing and if someone else can follow your work as well. Let's take a look at one more problem here. A mother cat weighs 14 5/8 pounds. Her kitten weighs 1.5 pounds. How much do they weigh together? This implies addition. So we're going to take 14 5/8, and we're going to add to that 1 1/2. Common denominator between 2 and 8. Well, 8 is my largest number. 2 does divide evenly into 8, so the common denominator then is 8. So my least common denominator is 8. So this becomes 14 5/8, it stays. This becomes 1. We have to have a common denominator of 8, so we have to multiply the 2 by 4, so we multiply the 1 by 4, 1 4/8. So 14 5/8 plus 1 4/8, 14 plus 1 is 15. 5 plus 4 is 9. So 15 9/8, but 9/8 is an improper fraction. so I need to change that to a mixed number. So this becomes 15. 9/8 can be rewritten as 1 and 1/8. So 15 plus 1 and 1/8 becomes 16 and 1/8. So they weigh together 16 and 1/8 pounds. This is adding mixed numbers. Adding mixed numbers just requires that if you get an improper fraction as part of your answer, you must convert it back into a mixed number and then combine those as well.